Rebecca Tadesse from NEA OECD. So let's see what the second player has to say.
Thank you very much. I will go quickly on the first few slides because I just wanted to cover what NEA is. NEA, as you know, is basically dealing with advanced countries and addressing technical questions and policy issues. And we support 33 countries which have 84% of the nuclear reactors in these countries. The organization is fairly small compared to IAEA. It's about 120 people, and it's set up with 7 technical organizations, and then, of course, the supporting offices. My division deals with the Radioactive Waste Management Committee, as well as the new committee that just got created last year, which is the Decommissioning Committee for Nuclear Decommissioning and Legacy Management, CDLM. CDLM was basically created, as you know, RWMC supported a lot of the work that was dealing with the decommissioning sites for nuclear facilities, nuclear reactor facilities. What CDLM is trying to do is bring that work as well as the legacy management issues with the different countries and address also industrial and other waste management technical issues. And the goal is to have a shared experience, knowledge to deal with, as you know, economic factors are very significant when you're dealing with decommissioning. Understand the process, always also identify the research needs that could be addressed for decommissioning facilities. And as well as knowledge management when you're dealing with decommissioning. RWMC has been around for more than 20 years. The one significant change that has done in the past few years is that looking at waste from a holistic perspective. And when we say holistic perspective, we're thinking about you need to look at the technical aspect of it, safety, you need to look at the economic aspect of it, as well as the social aspect of it. So what we're trying to do is develop the work activities associated with RWMC to address those 3 specific areas. In that, right now we're dealing with, in terms of, I know you can't see the top part, it's safety, economics, and societal. And in that area, what we're trying to do is the optimization of waste management, dealing with knowledge management, and looking at technologies that are advancing for waste management and minimizing waste in that area. In the stakeholder area, we are trying to make sure that when we're doing these consideration, optimization, and things like that, we look at all stakeholders, the public as well as the other entities, other regulatory infrastructures and things like that, to make sure that we've addressed those issues as well as assist countries in terms of discussing, what are the type of things that they should consider when you're doing with stakeholders, when you're doing DGR sightings and things like that. So we support that work. In the economical factors, we're looking at, when you're optimizing, you need to consider the economics aspect of it. It can't just be, by minimizing waste, you're not, if you don't consider the economics, it might not be feasible. So the technical issue needs to consider the economics part of it. Is it doable? Is it manageable? And things like that. So we're looking at that area. The Regulatory Forum is an organization within RWMC which will support also, it's its own organization, but it supports both RWMC and CDLM. They are regulators coming from the member countries and looking at, from the regulator perspective, what are the things that we need to consider and what are the areas that needs to be developed. So when I talk about competency management, they're the one who have initiated this work. So Christophe asked me to do more about knowledge management and competency, so I'll cover those areas and then I'll talk about some of the few examples of the other work that we're doing currently. Everybody knows that when you're dealing with knowledge management and waste management area, it's very important to have the information available throughout generations. We need to have information also be transferred. As you know, a lot of the nuclear engineers and people that have been working in these areas are either at the age of retirement or have retired. So we need to make sure that the information that they have produced is kept and be able to be transferred to the next generation. The data, of course, the quality of the national program needs to be, for a repository, is important. Information has to be transferable from one generation to the other generation. And also we need to have the adequate program such that we'll make the right decisions and the future generation has the ability to make those decisions for themselves. So within that area, NEA has done a lot of activities in the past few years. We have the RADMAT report that you could see from our homepage that looked like how do you do metadata management. And then we have investigation of family of tools, techniques for the data. And then we have the RKM, which preserves record knowledge and what are the complementary ways of to get information to be preserved. And the EGRM has published, it just got published 3 days ago. That kind of gives you the development of innovative methodology for presenting data, information about spent fuel and radioactive waste management, and looking at the national inventory and strategies and how do you, the format that you keep information is important. It's not just the information is available, but the format it's been kept has to be able to be transferable to other generations. So that report just got published. Early January of this year, we had a workshop to look at how do you maintain data and how do you keep it, how are the mechanisms that we need to address. So we wanted to develop a roadmap that would be able to address those issues and present it to the RWMC 52 meeting such that they would be able to approve the program and create a working party to address those issues. So from that workshop, we were able to get enough information and member countries were interested in this initiative. So the Radioactive Waste Management Committee approved the working party to be created, and we're right now in the process of getting the term of reference approved. But the goal is to managing and coordinating the activities in the roadmap, as well as have a neutral forum where we'll be able to discuss. Different countries have implemented knowledge management and IDKM processes, and what are the challenges that they're facing and how do we address those challenges? What are the commonality and differences that are associated with that? And the platform that we will be able to utilize that information also is an important aspect. So our expectation is that we will have within the working party different working groups addressing those specific issues and bringing it back to the RWMC such that we produce documents and things like that to further develop this area. In terms of competency management, this was an issue that was raised a few years back by the regulatory forum group that we need to address the competency of the regulator. You know, do we have the right skill sets? Are they trained? Where are we going? So that was an initiative that was proposed by the RF, and basically what we're, the background is that existing strong and comprehensive knowledge management by the regulatory body is a very important aspect of it, because as you know that if the regulator is reviewing your document and they don't have the technical capacity to do it, it's problematic. So then considering the long time frame associated with waste management, you need to have those information available and the knowledge associated with that. And as countries are going into decommissioning, it's very important to have that captured information such that new generations will be able to address those issues. So in order to address those questions, the Secretariat developed surveys, basically. And in the survey, we asked, what are the current policy strategies for competency management for regulatory forum countries? Methodology to foresee necessary competency in future, activities and competency in knowledge management, training tools and other information available for others, and priority level enhancing competency for regulatory activities. Those are the type of questions that we asked the member countries, and these are the type of answers we got. It was confirmed that we need competency to address their mission. Competence management is part of the regulatory framework in their laws. The regulatory relies on their technical competency from their TSOs. And the expertise have changed within the past 10 years, because as countries are moving to decommissioning, the knowledge that you need for doing decommissioning and when you're in operation are different. So that also was identified, and the need for more focused training and development of competencies. As I said earlier, the same thing, there is retiring staff, so we need to make sure that the new generation is being trained. The importance of participation in international organizations and meetings and workshops like this, bilateral, multilateral agreements on training, although that might be difficult when you're dealing with a regulatory infrastructure that's different from one country to country, but there's some basic knowledge that would be utilized by all countries. So that's an important aspect of it. Job training and know how to do it, experience, not just the theoretical part of it. So the RF felt that this is a valuable work that needs to be addressed. So we have initiated a workshop that will be held, that should be 2020, sorry, next year. And the focus is to have, what are the core competencies that people need to have? Identify effective mechanism for building that competencies. And what are the support that the national countries will need to have? Okay. So other activities that NEA is involved in, we also had another workshop this year to deal with robotic systems and how to use robotic systems for waste management as well as decommissioning. And at this workshop, one of the things that we identified was that there is a need from the developer side of it as well as the implementer and the regulator to have an understanding what these robots could be used for and how to use it and what the results could be understood. So we have set up a new working group that will be addressing these issues, and our goal is to have representatives from decision makers, policy, as well as regulators and developers and researchers to address that issue from the back end aspect of it, and decommissioning will also be considered. Another thing that would be of interest to you is that we are in the process of setting up a workshop, which is pre-disposal management workshop. That has two purposes. One purpose is to identify our work activity for the next 2-3 years, as well as to see what are the technical issues that are out there that needs to be addressed. How do we deal with the legal, technical, as well as economical issues, and identify topics where we can work both from EC and other organizations together to address those issues. And that workshop will also be held, I think it's the second week of February next year. And what we've done is that we're asking each standing committee within NEA to present their perspective of waste management, pre-disposal management, such that we'll be able to address from cradle to grave, during operation, as you're designing new reactors, what are the type of things that you need to consider, what are the things that are being challenged by the existing plants, how to address those issues. So this will be a week session that each group will have the opportunity to present and have a discussion and see where areas that we will be able to collaborate within the different organizations. Another activity that we're initiating is the dialogue between the regulator and implementer. As you talk to people, when the regulator says the implementer does not understand what we're looking for, the implementer says that the regulator doesn't understand what they're asking. So we're trying to set up a group that would have meetings, basically open meetings to discuss those issues, what are the issues, and then come up with a framework that to develop that it would be a report from the outcome of this activity. And there will be a workshop. I don't mind a minute, okay. Another thing that might be of interest is that NEST, the Nuclear Education Skills and Technology Framework, this is a group, it's not in my division, it's in a different division that just got organized last February. And these are 15 organizations from 10 countries looking at how do we do hands-on practices and activities relating to waste management as well as other activities in the countries. And the two projects that has been identified that we'll be working on from our perspective from the waste area is there's a proposal from the Japanese JEA CLADS, which will deal with robotic systems used in a high gamma area and be able to address the technical issues and have hands-on experience, work with the graduate students and others. And that's the first phase. And then the second phase would be addressing what are the challenges and what are the research activities that needs to be considered. The other one is, it's a graphite decommissioning. It's the Russians are proposing. This would be on-site training, how to address technical issues when you're dealing with graphite characterization, as well as waste management and decommissioning. And so they're building a demonstration facility where people could come in and practice and be able to address some of the technical issues. So that's another project within NEST that has been proposed that would be addressed in our group. I know I talk fast. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Rebecca.
Rebecca, we don't know each other very well, but because you've only joined recently NEA, but in any case, the Commission is always pleased to cooperate, and we hope that we're going to be able to deepen the practical cooperation on issues. For instance, I heard about predisposal, NEST. These are domains where maybe we should come closer together to work. Thank you very much. And here a small present.